Sí, ahora estamos listos. Muy bien. ¿Me escucháis todos? Sí. Perfecto. Buenos días. Os recuerdo que tenemos aquí todavía el código QR para entrar en el grupo de WhatsApp para las noticias, si alguien todavía quiere conectarse. Hoy, en este tercer día de nuestro seminario, vamos a escuchar lo que han preparado las otras dos comisiones teológicas, es decir, la Comisión de Asia y la Comisión de Europa. Vamos a trabajar solo por la mañana, porque después en la tarde tenemos el momento de excursión para conocer un poco de Madrid, también para descansar un poco. Y vamos a hacer esta mañana como hicimos ayer. Entonces, primero vamos a escuchar las dos comisiones que presentan lo que han preparado, ¿no? Y después de la pausa, del break, vamos a hacer la discusión. Y para este segundo momento voy a invitar siempre dos miembros de las comisiones de Asia y de Europa, el coordinador y uno más, que vienen aquí delante para componer aquí la mesa redonda y hacer la discusión. Muy bien, sin perder tiempo, quiero invitar a Michael Agustín, el coordinador de la Comisión de Asia, que va a presentar lo que ha preparado la Comisión Asiática.
So good morning to everyone. So first and foremost, let us thank Father Locke, who has given us these nice rosaries. He's from Vietnam, and he wants to promote this devotion towards Our Lady, this month of May being the month of Rosary. So thank you, Father Locke. And let us also make a prayer to the entire continent of Asia, as we are going to discuss about the Asian contribution for this theme of our seminar towards economy for all, inclusive, sustainable, and just. So my presentation will, first we'll briefly present the overview of Asian reality. Then we shall see the existing economic model in Asia. Then some of the possible alternative economic models. And then towards the end we shall see the contribution of Pope Francis and how his views can help us to find alternative economy. So we are here from Indonesia, from Vietnam, then from China, the Philippines. They are not able to participate from this seminar, and then from India. So this is how we begin. The economy exists for the person and not the person for the economy. And all economic life should be shaped by moral principles. So the moral principles are at the center of our human life. So without these moral principles, our religious principles, and without the values, our economy and our life as human persons will have no significance, will have no meaning. Just an overview of Asian reality. This Asian reality is a complex reality because of the multicultural, geographical, and linguistic differences. So each country is having its own differences. So it's very complex to take this continent as a whole. But still we shall see some of the common elements which might help us to understand this Asian reality. So there is a need to establish social and economic equality. Because economic disparity has also increased like social disparity. Since there is a social disparity in this continent, there is also economic disparity. So there is a need to establish a social equality as well as economic equality. And there's a need to work in the fields of education, health, and essential services to bridge the ever-menacing rich-poor economic disparity. So these are the areas that the continent needs to focus if you want to reduce the gap between the rich and the poor economic disparity. And we need to foster social responsibility and social consciousness to bring about a growth-oriented quality change in the fast-changing society. Some of the continental concerns in terms of the economic situation. So there is an inflation, increase in the prices of all the essential commodities, which badly affect the normal rhythm of the middle class and lower middle class population, which forms the vast majority of the Asian population. And there is also a corporate manipulation. The economic situation is further weakened by the corporate greediness, which facilitates the rich becoming richer and the poor becoming poorer. So human need, not the corporate greed. As our national father of India, Gandhiji says, the world has enough for everyone's need, but not enough for everyone's greed. He says we have the resources to satisfy everyone's need, but we do not have the resources to satisfy everyone's greed. And he is true. This is how we see a minority, a corporate world which is manipulating the majority. Need has its limit, but greed does not have limits. And greediness combines itself with the selfishness of the privileged few who rob the basic rights of the common man to live a dignified, decent life. So the gap between the rich and the poor has widened as far as the Asian continent is concerned. So as these pictures depict, you can see the contrasting realities, rich becoming richer and the poor becoming poorer. And these rich are so-called the minority, and the vast majority are in the other side of the coin. So basically we can say that Asian reality is a poverty-stricken reality. It is said by the World Bank there are 320 million people in Asia who are under the poverty line, or below the poverty line. That means they earn less than $3 per day for their survival. So it shows the reality of Asia, which is poverty-stricken. So our Asian economic reality is a poverty-stricken reality. So we need to talk of the theology from below. That's why we started from the reality. This is our theology, from where we can begin to talk about finding these alternative economic models. So we need to see what kind of theology will enable us to deal, to discuss, and to dialogue with the dark economic concerns of the continent. So in this context, we speak about the immanent Trinity, which is God's existence as a triune Godhead consisting of Father, Son, and the Spirit. And it is the eternal relationship between the three persons of the Trinity, Father, Son, and the Spirit, according to Karl Rahner. And this economic Trinity is defined as the outward expression of God's inner life. And the economic Trinity is how God's inner life manifests itself. So the immanent and economic Trinity emphasize unity and equality. They are not two separate realities, but they are two aspects of the same divine reality. So the immanent Trinity refers to the relationship within the Trinity, and the economic Trinity refers to inclusiveness, humanness, oneness, and togetherness. And it refers to the strong participation of the community in the enslaved economic reality of the suffering humanity. So we shall see the existing economic model in Asia, that is of capitalism. This capitalism is an economic system characterized by private ownership, which the free market alone controls the production of goods and services. It's motivated by profit, and there is no government intervention. So only few people control the economy. In Asia, this system is one of the causes of economic and welfare disparities. It can encourage innovation and efficiency in production and distribution. However, this model pays less attention to social, environmental, and human welfare interests. Some countries in Asia that are still experiencing problems in implementing a sustainable and equitable model of capitalism, such as Indonesia, Philippines, and India. These countries still experience large social and economic inequalities, and many struggle for workers' rights and social welfare. And natural resources are often exploited without consideration for the environment. That is the capitalist model. They don't care for the natural resources or the exploitation of the resources. The infrastructure development often has negative impacts on the environment, such as forest destruction, water pollution, and air pollution. The capitalist economic model in Asia has created a huge gap between the rich and the poor. A small number of rich people continue to accumulate wealth and power, while many poor people have no access to the economy, or very little access to the economy. Now we shall see what can be the alternative economy for Asia. So basically we can speak of three principles which are well known to us, and we shall see how these principles can be translated in concrete terms, and they may serve us as the alternative models of economy. The principle of equality, the principle of integrity, and the principle of solidarity. The principle of equality is a shared economic model in the world of commerce. Every individual has possibilities in various aspects of the economy. This model includes access to credit, employment opportunities, and the provision of goods and services for everyone. They also have equal access to quality services based on characteristics such as race, gender, ethnicity, religion, sexual orientation, or other identities. So everyone benefits from this model. They have equal opportunities to participate in the economy and compete in a balanced market. It involves working together between governments, businesses, and individuals to address structural inequities, promote diversity and inclusiveness, and create a more equitable economic system. This equality in trade also requires equal access to resources such as capital, information, and technology. The possibility of participation and representation in the world of economy and markets, regardless of their background or identity. This shared economy model aims to reduce economic disparities, to create decent jobs and reduce unemployment, because this is one of the major problems for this economic struggle, lack of jobs, to provide equal access to resources and opportunities for all. So this is the purpose of this model. And this can be achieved through various government programs such as job training programs, housing subsidies, microcredit programs, and affordable access to health programs. So everybody will have access to the basic necessities of life and live a decent life as human beings. And second principle, the principle of integrity, that is the well-being of the human being, which at times is neglected or not taken care in Asia. This is related to the fulfillment of several basic human needs: access to adequate health care, nutritious food, clean water, and sanitation. Access to mental health services, social support, and resources to cope with stress and anxiety. Access to financial resources such as savings, insurance, and credit are important for the well-being of the individuals as well as communities. Access to positive relationships with family, friends, and communities. Access to quality education and training programs. Access to protection from violence, crime, and other threats, to personal safety, to have peace of mind and heart. Access to have a good environmental quality. Stable economic development can create opportunities for people to improve their standard of living and contribute to their overall well-being as human beings. This means it includes job creation, access to basic needs, social programs such as education, health care, and social welfare, new technologies, and sustainable development practices that protect the environment. The sustainable development practices, they can create new job opportunities and support economic growth. They can protect and promote natural resources and environmental health. It can also ensure that resources are available for future generations, promoting intergenerational equity and long-term well-being. And thirdly, we have the principle of solidarity. The solidarity includes feelings of mutual connection and mutual assistance in the society. This is found because of shared values and shared experiences. This principle of solidarity enables the society and the individuals to promote cooperation and collaboration among individuals as well as groups, to provide support and assistance in dealing with common challenges, to strengthen an individual's sense of attachment to the society, a kind of sense of belonging to the society, to help build a sense of trust and loyalty among the community members. And this also leads us to economic solidarity, which can be realized in various forms, such as mutual cooperation activities, small economic joint ventures, and social assistance. There is something called gotong royong. Gotong royong is an Indonesian term. It's a collective work activity in the community that is carried out voluntarily with the aim of achieving a common goal of preparing agricultural land or building a house. So our conference from Indonesia, they may be able to throw more light on this when we have the question hour. And social assistance programs can be in the form of food assistance, health assistance, and financial assistance. So the practice of economic solidarity can help to create social and economic equality, to increase shared prosperity, to reduce economic inequality, to create a more inclusive and sustainable environment. And this aspect of solidarity in Asia is often associated with harmony, namely cooperation between individuals as well as groups, which is based on mutual respect, respect for differences, and creating a balanced relationship. Several Asian countries are implementing economic policies that focus on inclusive and sustainable development, which is based on the principle of harmony, which is very much connected with the principle of solidarity. This policy includes increasing access to education. We keep on talking about education because that is one of the major reasons for the economic disparity. The people from the poorer sections, they have less access to education. Training and capital for underprivileged communities, the development of more sustainable and inclusive small and medium enterprises. And this principle requires everyone to empathize and respect the existence of the others. See, other person is important. So my survival or my existence will also means that I need to care for the existence of the other, or I need to facilitate the existence of the other. This principle of solidarity and harmony emphasizes the importance of cooperation and active participation. It also gives the importance of contributing to the common good, not only looking for my own survival, but I take everyone into consideration and I give my contribution for the common good of others. So this principle of solidarity can be the key to overcoming the problem of poverty in Asia, because solidarity can encourage people to work together to meet basic needs and help people in need. It can also help in creating social and economic equity by reducing the gap between the rich and the poor in the society. However, on the other hand, poverty also can be an obstacle in developing solidarity in society, because when people find it difficult to meet their own basic needs, they may find it more difficult to help others who are also in need. And we can talk something about informal economy, which also forms part of the alternative economy. This informal or non-formal economy includes individuals and groups involved in the economic activities outside the formal or official sector, such as the private, public, or non-profit sectors. They include street vendors, small entrepreneurs, small farmers, informal workers, craftsmen, and others. All those who are engaging in the small-scale business, they come under this informal economy. However, they create jobs, provide goods and services needed by society, and they play an important role in reducing poverty or to deal with the poverty, which is the reality. These informal economies are often involved in strong local, social, and economic networks, which enable them to gain support from business partners, customers, or other partners. Within these networks, solidarity can grow because non-formal economic sectors often share resources and information, provide moral support and practical assistance to their colleagues in trouble or in need, and they participate in social and cultural activities together. So they can extend their sense of belonging, or they can extend their helping hand to those who are in need. They help promote values that local people consider important, such as social justice, sustainability, and cultural diversity. And they build solidarity and help strengthen social relations among the participants. So this solidarity can help non-formal economic sectors to adapt more easily to unexpected environmental and economic changes, as well as strengthen their ability to overcome challenges together. So they are finding solutions to the problem. In that sense, they become part of the solution, not becoming part of the problem. These social networks can form social capital, which is a collection of values, norms, and social relations that enable people to work together effectively in achieving the common goals. For example, we had the Swadeshi movement in India in the early 20th century. It was led by Mahatma Gandhi, wherein people were instructed or they were given awareness that they should buy things that are produced in their native land and not to purchase things that are imported from the other countries. So that in a way make them to feel that they are able to stand on their own or they support their own economy. And this cooperative movement that emerged worldwide as an alternative to the capitalist economy is considered a form of non-formal economy based on the principles of cooperation and interdependence. The small farmer movement, which promotes organic farming practices, maintains self-sufficiency and sustainability of the environment and society. So they care for the environment and they also take care of the economy, which are the two integral parts of human life. The local craft industry movement relies on traditional skills to produce goods of high quality and high artistic value. So the local people, the simple people, they find their own means of sustaining themselves, their livelihood. These non-formal economic activities can help local communities develop sustainable and equitable economic alternatives, as well as promote awareness of common interests. This movement helps reduce people's dependence on multinational industries and increase local self-reliance, and can help protect natural resources and the environment from industrial exploitation, as well as promote social justice and prosperity for local communities. So in the context of the Indian economy, there are several elements of an alternative economy that could also contribute to addressing the global economic challenges we face today. For example, we have the sustainable and inclusive development. So India has been making efforts to pursue sustainable and inclusive development through policies such as National Rural Employment Guarantee Scheme, which guarantees 100 days of employment to rural households, and the Pradhan Mantri Jan Dhan Yojana, which aims to provide banking services to all the households So even the simple people, they have access to bank. They can sustain themselves by making small investments for their future. Such policies could serve as models for other countries to follow in Asia. Secondly, there is something called informal sector. India has a large informal sector that is often excluded from the formal economy. However, this sector is also a source of innovation and entrepreneurship. By recognizing the contributions of the informal sector and providing support and opportunities for its growth, India could help create more inclusive and resilient economy in Asia. Thirdly, there is a digital innovation. So India has been at the forefront of digital innovation with initiatives such as Aadhaar biometric identification system, that we have got a unique identity card, and the unified payments interface, UPI. These technologies have the potential to increase financial inclusion and reduce transaction costs, which could be beneficial for the global economy. Fourthly, there is social enterprise. So India has a growing social enterprise sector, which is focused on creating social and environmental impact while generating sustainable revenue. Such enterprises could serve as models for businesses in other countries to adapt more responsible and sustainable practices. Then there is higher education. So while higher education leads to development, a population being stuck in lower levels of education, such as primary, middle schooling, do not contribute to Indian growth. Thus, focusing merely on primary education through policies and aid is a necessary but insufficient condition to foster prosperity. So not to stop with the basic schooling, but they need to be encouraged to go for higher education. In particular, it may be important also to focus on the higher levels of education that generate economic prosperity. Then there is ecosystem. The government of India needs to create an ecosystem that enables private investments, increased consumption, the competitiveness of exports, and swift infrastructural investments. These steps can make India to the status of global superpower that it rightly deserves. So overall, India's experience and initiatives in sustainable and inclusive development, informal sector, digital innovation, social enterprise, and higher education could offer valuable insights and examples for addressing the global economic challenges we face today in Asia. So now I would like to conclude this presentation with the 8 Beatitudes of Pope Francis, which can be also very much related to our Dehonian core values. And they may serve us as a roadmap for us to find alternative economy. So we can call them as 8 Dehonian Beatitudes towards an economy for all, inclusive, sustainable, and just. So these are the 8 Beatitudes, which are very dear to Pope Francis and which are also very dear to our founding father, Leo John Dehon. Sanctity, simplicity, sincerity, stability, sensitivity, solidarity, serenity, and synodality. So the sanctity is to be human is to be holy, and to be holy is to be human. So we start with that. So the glory of God is human being fully alive. So by being fully human and being fully alive, we can care for our brothers and sisters in need, that is to promote economy for all, and for our common home, that is ecology. And to live a life of sanctity means having God and God's people and God-given home as our primacy, as our priority, and as our preference. The second one is simplicity. That means embrace the essentials, eliminate the non-essentials. So whatever is important and essential, we need to embrace them. And whatever is non-essential or less important or unimportant, we need to eliminate. So in our case, the essentials can be prayer, peace, prudence, patience, passion, persistence, and perseverance. So all these are connected to promote the human values, which will help us to move towards promoting economy for all. The non-essentials can be power, pride, pessimism, partiality, possessiveness, persecution, and prejudice. So when we are divided among ourselves, or when we are possessed by these non-essentials, we have less time to think about the other. We will be so much caught up with our own selves. So by eliminating these non-essentials and by embracing the essentials, we can promote economy for all, which is sustainable, just, and inclusive. So our lives should be simple yet significant. So we are not called to be simplistic, that is naive, but realistic and pragmatic. So let us live simple so that the poor around us may simply live. Thirdly, we have sincerity. It means being clean, pure, and sound. It also means personal growth, maturity, and development. So we need to make a journey as Dehonians from kind of selfishness towards selflessness, from sinfulness towards sinlessness, from self-centeredness towards Savior-centeredness, that is Christ-centeredness, which will help us to become more selfless religious, and we can think about promoting economy for all. So the world needs to practice honesty and authenticity without any falsity and duplicity, which makes us as people of sincerity. The fourth one is stability. Does not mean immobility, but an interior mobility. So there is an interior movement in all of us to think about the other. The concerns of the society should also become our concerns. So flexibility is the key to stability. So and we need to focus on interpersonal stability, intrapersonal stability, ecopersonal stability, and then transpersonal stability. So this stability, which will help us to promote economy for all. Basically, we become people of relationships. The fifth one is sensitivity. So be compassionate as your heavenly Father is compassionate. Be merciful as your heavenly Father is merciful. So there is a seed of compassion in every human person. And this sensitivity or empathy or compassion is the basic care and concern we show towards the other, especially our needy brothers and sisters. And this compassion helps us to connect, to cultivate, and to contribute to the well-being of the human being and the nature. That is for the ecology as well as to promote economy. It is important for our survival, revival, and renewal of our lives as Dehonians. So in Laudato Si, Pope Francis insists on personal as well as social sensitivity. So we must care for the earth, our common home, but at the same time, we must also be sensitive to the cries of our sisters and brothers. So cry of the earth, It's the cry of the poor. So in Laudato Si, number 91, Pope Francis writes, a sense of deep communion with the rest of nature cannot be real if our hearts lack tenderness, compassion, and concern for our fellow human beings. So the concern for the earth is also leads us towards concern for our fellow human beings. They are connected together. So Dalai Lama, he says, love and compassion are necessities, not luxuries. Without them, humanity cannot survive. The sixth one, solidarity, which means being fully in touch with the realities within ourselves, around ourselves, and above ourselves. So solidarity means being solid in our fraternity, which will pave way for our eternity. So solidarity means thinking and acting in terms of underprivileged humanity with the spirit of fraternity and fidelity. So solidarity is the ability to reach out to the lost, and the least. And seventh one is serenity, which is not freedom from the storm, but peace amidst the storm. So we have a lot of economic concerns, a lot of problems, but we need to find a realistic solution to the problem. Thus we become not part of the problem, but part of the solution. For this serenity helps. So it means maintaining one's calm and composure in all the circumstances and situations. And the sensitivity is an intrinsic reality, that it's a way of life, a way that leads towards life. The last one is synodality, which is walking together, journeying together, praying together, listening together, reflecting together to find solutions together, and to foster and facilitate oneness and togetherness, wellness and wholeness, fullness and faithfulness. To conclude, Pope Francis in Laudato Si speaks of economy and ecology, and he invites everyone to reduce the unnecessary expenditure and the wastage of the economic, earthly resources. He invites us to reduce, to recycle, and to reuse the material as well as the natural resources. So in Fratelli Tutti, Pope speaks of union and communion as part of the effective human participation in the economic realities. To concretize the vision of the Holy Father Francis, we can call him as our modern day Dehon, let us envision a God-centered vision, a word-centered passion, and a gospel-centered mission to bring forth the world centered on compassion. Adveniat regnum tuum. Thank you.
Michael, we appreciate a lot your presentation, the three principles, and also the creative pun with S words to present the 8 Beatitudes of Pope Francis. Very, very appreciate. Thank you.
Thank you.
I don't know if someone from the Asian Commission wants to add something to the presentation, also about the singular realities of Indonesia or of Vietnam or China. I don't know. If someone wants, we have 10 minutes more or less. No, it's enough? Okay, okay. Thank you for the Asian Commission. Y antes de dar la palabra a la Comisión Europea, solo una información. Ayer teníamos más o menos 1.500 personas que han accesado el sitio para tener las informaciones sobre el seminario teológico y 264 personas que seguían en directa en YouTube. Entonces, no estamos solos nosotros aquí. Hay muchas personas que también están con nosotros gracias a la comunicación de la congregación y es para nosotros también un modo de compartir nuestra reflexión, nuestros trabajos de estos días. Y ahora quería dar la palabra a la Comisión Europea, es Padre Pablo, aquí de España, que va a presentar los trabajos de la Comisión y después de las presentaciones de la Comisión Europea y de la pausa del break, tenemos la oportunidad también para la discusión, para hacer preguntas, para compartir ideas. Entonces, Padre Pablo, gracias por la presentación y a usted la palabra.
Buenos días. La Comisión Teológica de Unión Europea ha reflexionado también sobre cuestiones económicas en vísperas de este Congreso. La ética social cristiana y el magisterio del Papa Francisco en sus encíclicas Laudato Si y Fratelli Tutti nos invitan a plantearnos una economía de solidaridad, de fraternidad, que sea inclusiva, sostenible y justa. Los miembros de la Comisión Teológica de Unión Europea hemos individualizado y profundizado con nuestros estudios personales en varios aspectos de la doctrina social de la Iglesia y también de las relaciones económicas. Realmente no hemos hecho unas propuestas concretas, sino más bien ha sido una reflexión teórica. Y os vais a dar cuenta de que muchas de las cosas que ya han expresado otros ponentes, pues las vamos a volver a repetir. Hemos trabajado sobre estos tres principios, algunas cuestiones relevantes que nos parecían importantes en el momento actual en Europa. La propiedad privada y su relación con el destino universal de los bienes, el capitalismo global y actual con sus características y las formas de propiedad y sus variedades. Vamos a empezar por la primera, por la propiedad privada. ¿Qué papel desempeña hoy? Nos preguntábamos. Ya en el Antiguo Testamento hay muchas leyes que se contienen que prueban que la propiedad era reconocida y protegida. Hablábamos mucho del pasaje de la viña de Nabot. Conceptualmente se ha considerado que la propiedad privada se adquiere y se origina por el trabajo personal. Así, volviendo a la teoría de Santo Tomás de Aquino, pues él afirmaba que al hombre compete por naturaleza el dominio de las cosas exteriores en cuanto a su uso, porque es imagen de Dios por su razón, y Dios ha creado las cosas para que nos sostengamos corporalmente. Con referencia a la propiedad privada, hacía una distinción entre el poder de gestión y de disposición de los bienes y su uso. El profesor Giró habló de esto muy de pasada el otro día. Para Santo Tomás es de ley natural propiamente dicha el uso de los bienes de la tierra, mientras que la propiedad privada, sin ser contraria a la naturaleza y siendo lícita, es un desarrollo de la razón humana y corresponde al derecho natural positivo, al derecho de gentes. En cierto modo es natural al hombre porque es algo racional, ya que se deriva de la ley natural por vía de conclusión no muy lejana de los principios. Por eso se suele indicar que Santo Tomás considera la propiedad privada derecho natural pero de derecho natural secundario y no primario, es decir, no en sí misma, sino en relación con sus consecuencias positivas. Es decir, que las posesiones de los bienes no fueron impuestas por la naturaleza, sino por la razón natural para la utilidad de la vida humana. La doctrina social de la Iglesia, Rerum Novarum de León XIII, pues ha sostenido siempre la legitimidad e inviolabilidad de la propiedad privada como una garantía de la autonomía de la persona y del recto orden social, porque asegura a cada cual una zona necesaria para el desarrollo personal y familiar, es el camino para la difusión de la justicia social. En este sentido, pues debe ser considerada en la línea de las libertades civiles como una ampliación de la propia libertad humana. El padre Dehon se mueve en esta línea en el Manual Social Cristiano. Él considera también la propiedad privada como el instrumento adecuado para resolver la cuestión social y el pauperismo. En el clima ideológico de aquel momento estaba el conflicto entre las dos grandes ideologías económicas de finales del siglo XIX, el capitalismo liberal y el socialismo comunista. Para el primero, la propiedad privada era el fundamento del orden económico, mientras que para el segundo era la raíz de todas las injusticias. Por esta razón, la doctrina social de la Iglesia buscó evitar esos dos extremos opuestos, el del capitalismo de mercado apoyado por la burguesía y el del colectivismo estatal que aglutinaba a los obreros sin grandes propiedades. En favor de la propiedad privada, como modelo organizativo más ventajoso, siempre se han aducido varios argumentos. La defensa contra el arbitrio del poder público, la eficiencia en la gestión de los bienes, producción de mayor riqueza, la seguridad para el futuro, oportunidades, estabilidad y paz social. Poco a poco el capitalismo se ha ido imponiendo al comunismo como sistema dominante en el siglo XX y en el siglo XXI. Y ahora nuestras sociedades europeas pues, actúan según una mentalidad capitalista. Contado, tanto Rerum Novarum como el padre Dehon ponían límite al uso de la propiedad privada según unos principios del capitalismo desenfrenado. El padre Dehon buscaba armonizar la justicia cuando la relación entre el pobre y el rico se enmarcaba en un ambiente de extrema necesidad, y también era partidario de una especie de intervención paternalista que atendía a la caridad cristiana. Con el correr del tiempo, en la misma doctrina social de la Iglesia se observa un proceso de evolución por el que la propiedad privada pierde ese carácter de principio supremo que revestía en los principios para quedar subordinada a otros principios. En efecto, al cambiar el ámbito en el que se expresa la doctrina sobre la propiedad privada de la doctrina social, de un comunismo emergente a finales del siglo XIX que la cuestionaba a una realidad actual de neocapitalismo global en el siglo XXI, donde algunos usos del capital privado distan de ser éticos, el enfoque varía. La propiedad privada viene expuesta, por tanto, en un segundo plano y se integra y comprende en un marco más amplio. El movimiento patrístico hizo que el Vaticano II recogiera la antigua doctrina del destino universal de los bienes y la propusiera con renovado vigor, sobre todo en Gaudium et Spes 69. Se recuerda cómo con ocasión pastoral de sus sermones, Ambrosio, Basilio, Juan Crisóstomo y Gregorio Magno subrayan el destino universal de los bienes y la exigencia de limosna como un derecho de los pobres y una obligación moral para los ricos. Que nadie llame propio a lo común, decían, la tierra pertenece a todos y no a los ricos, lo que excede de lo necesario para el gasto se ha obtenido violentamente. Son frases que ya hemos escuchado a otros ponentes. Para la Iglesia, el destino universal de los bienes se fundamenta en la propia naturaleza y dignidad humanas. Es por ello que es un derecho básico y natural de toda persona. ¿Qué significa? Es el derecho a poseer los bienes necesarios para vivir como tal. Esto quiere decir que en todo hombre tiene el derecho a gozar del bienestar necesario para su pleno desarrollo. Bienes materiales que le permitan alimentarse y crecer, comunicarse y asociarse y conseguir de este modo pues, las más altas finalidades a las que puede estar llamado. En su encíclica Fratelli Tutti, en el número 120, que ya nos citó el ponente, el que era brasileño, habló mucho de este número. No lo leyó entero, ahora vamos a hacerlo, porque es en el que se ve claramente cuál es la relación y dependencia de la doctrina social de la Iglesia entre el principio universal de los bienes y el derecho a la propiedad privada, que es lo que se encuentra en el Catecismo de la Doctrina, el Compendio de la Doctrina Social de la Iglesia. Dice así: el principio del uso común de los bienes creados para todos es el primer principio de todo ordenamiento ético-social. Es un derecho natural, originario y prioritario. Todos los demás derechos sobre los bienes necesarios para la realización integral de las personas, incluidos el de la propiedad privada y cualquier otro, no deben estorbar, antes al contrario, facilitar su realización, como afirmaba San Pablo VI. El derecho a la propiedad privada solo puede ser considerado como un derecho natural secundario y derivado del principio del destino universal de los bienes creados. Y esto tiene consecuencias muy concretas que deben reflejarse en la sociedad. Por lo tanto, el destino universal de los bienes pertenece al ámbito de los fines. Dios ha creado el mundo para confiarlo al cuidado y al uso responsable de los hombres, mientras que la propiedad privada constituye algo subordinado, que se ubica en el plano de los medios, porque está ordenado a hacer efectivo el principio superior del uso común. Vamos a hablar ahora de las características del capitalismo contemporáneo global que hemos encontrado en nuestras sociedades europeas. En un mundo globalizado, los mecanismos capitalistas que están presentes en la economía poseen caracteres hoy que llamamos globales y digitales. Sería bueno también distinguir entre los diferentes tipos de bienes, porque también en nuestras exposiciones a veces se mezclan mucho las cosas. Hay bienes de consumo, durables y no durables, el dinero, los títulos, otros valores, los bienes de capital, de producción, la tierra, son diferentes cosas. Por otro lado, notamos cómo en nuestra economía capitalista poco a poco se ha producido como una especie de sacralización de la propiedad privada. De esto también hemos escuchado varias referencias. Especialmente veíamos preocupante el uso, por ejemplo, de patentes para privatizar elementos como la naturaleza humana, la secuenciación genética o campos como el de la salud, el caso de las vacunas. Nos dábamos cuenta de que el capitalismo no es un mero sistema de organización económica que tenemos hoy vigente en Europa, sino que detrás posee una visión totalizadora y articulada del hombre, es decir, una antropología. El capitalismo ha exacerbado el individualismo. Así, la dignidad del ser humano se asienta en la autonomía personal, en la capacidad individual para elegir, para decidir y para gobernarse a sí mismo. Y esto ha provocado la disolución de muchos de los lazos comunitarios. Además, la mentalidad capitalista, su filosofía, digamos, es consumista. Promueve la conciencia de que estaremos mejor cuanto más tengamos y consumamos, puesto que el bienestar se mide por el criterio del crecimiento. Todo lo contrario de lo que nos acaba de exponer la Comisión Teológica de Asia. En definitiva, una antropología que salta al individuo, al soberano, autodeterminado y competitivo. El capitalismo a veces ha utilizado la mano invisible que rige el mercado como si fuera el sucedáneo de la providencia divina. Debajo hay un postulado que subyace: la búsqueda del interés individual redunda en beneficio del interés general. El liberalismo sin freno considera el provecho como el motor esencial del progreso económico, pero es primero mi progreso individual. Vamos a hablar ahora de las nuevas o diversas formas de propiedad. Es evidente que el principio universal de los bienes tiene que ser concretado, hecho efectivo. La doctrina social de la Iglesia nunca ha ofrecido una indicación directa sobre qué regulación de la propiedad puede realizarlo en mayor medida. Por eso se han considerado legítimas las diferentes formas. El problema, en esto han insistido también muchos otros ponentes, no consiste tanto en la forma jurídica de la propiedad como en que la propiedad sea realmente personal y a la medida del ser humano. Aquí se muestran algunas de las que nosotros hemos encontrado tanto en la Escritura como en la historia, que también son una repetición ya de lo dicho. En el Antiguo Testamento, por ejemplo, la idea de que la tierra pertenece a Dios se concreta en la idea de una propiedad privada que pertenece al individuo como parte de un clan. La categoría de propiedad tiene, por tanto, ingredientes de pluridimensionalidad y relacionalidad. En esto ponían énfasis también otros ponentes. En Israel existían también varias regulaciones de la propiedad. Nos referíamos sobre todo al año sabático y al jubileo que todos conocemos. Según la Biblia, la tierra disfrutará cada 7 años del derecho a descansar y actualizarse. Esta práctica del barbecho pues, fue enriquecida con un sentido religioso social, iluminado por el estilo de gratuidad y participación de cómo se comporta el propio Dios. También la tierra sí celebraba un sábado en honor al Señor, para que todos puedan disfrutar de ella, ya que Dios la creó para todos. En el año jubilar se daba descanso a la tierra, pero sobre todo se producía un retorno al estado inicial de la vida. La propiedad de las tierras volvía a su dueño original y los esclavos recobraban la libertad. El fundamento último de este jubileo no era otro que la gratuidad de la salvación de Dios, más allá de consideraciones económicas. ¿Se podría volver algún tipo de esta forma ahora en nuestras sociedades modernas? En el Antiguo Testamento, en los Hechos, contienen como referencia a la comunidad de bienes entre los fieles. También de esto ya se ha hablado, como es la expresión concreta de la fraternidad cristiana y de la esperanza escatológica. Pero siempre era un gesto voluntario, que no excluía el tener cosas propias. En un cierto paralelismo, el padre Deón, en alguno de sus escritos, veíamos cómo comparaba la vida religiosa con un socialismo voluntario. En su tiempo, el padre Dehon pidió también reforzar el derecho de asociación de los trabajadores con la propiedad para que pudiesen participar de los beneficios de la empresa. Él era muy partidario de estas iniciativas de participación empresarial. Y en el mundo anglosajón actual encontrábamos las alternativas a los modelos dominantes, que son, tampoco de esto se ha hablado mucho, el estado de bienestar y el neoliberalismo, que son las dos grandes corrientes económicas que hoy día se mueven en Europa, tradicionalmente más de izquierda o de derecha. Y frente a ellas, pues esta nueva propuesta de los comunes, no voy a incidir mucho porque ya nos lo explicaron mucho los ponentes. ¿Qué son los comunes? Pues es una forma de organización que se inspira mucho también en estas sociedades más antiguas, que hace hincapié en los procesos sociales en los que participan las personas cuando cooperan. Un modelo de organización que muestra una variedad de sistemas de autoabastecimiento y gobernanza que comparten una gestión de los recursos participada por la comunidad, es decir, en común. Así pues, los recursos se convierten en comunes cuando es la comunidad de personas quien se encarga de gestionarlos. Y se mueve en torno a tres ejes: los individuos, las comunidades y el medio ambiente. Pasamos ahora a una serie de consideraciones teológicas de fondo que emergen de aquello que hemos observado. Son como fundamentos antropológicos y morales constantes, que también nos han expuesto muchos de los primeros ponentes en el inicio. Fundamentalmente, uno de los problemas que hay es el de la justicia, luchar contra la desigualdad. Detrás de esto está una mentalidad antropológica, relacional y de comunión que reconoce la validez de las estrategias económicas cuando están dirigidas principalmente a la promoción integral de la persona humana, el destino universal de los bienes y la opción preferencial por los pobres. Estos tres principios siempre se encuentran detrás de todo lo que vamos hablando. Aunque la propiedad privada ha sido legitimada, no es absolutamente intocable, sino que tiene siempre una función social. También nos lo han dicho varias veces. Debe ser usada con una intención de comunión y solidaridad fraterna. Nosotros, en la tradición cristiana, siempre hemos insistido en que no somos dueños absolutos y exclusivos de los bienes, sino administradores de los bienes que Dios ha puesto en nuestras manos para uso de todos. Por eso siempre se ha dicho que la propiedad privada tiene una hipoteca social. El ponente Giró en la segunda conferencia nos hablaba precisamente de esto, de qué es el dominio y qué significa que el hombre pueda dominar la creación que Dios ha creado. Otro aspecto que me emerge es la conexión de los bienes comunes con los derechos, en el sentido que se reconoce a las personas un cierto derecho fundamental al mismo tiempo que se debe permitir alcanzarlo. Por ejemplo, pues la primera, si el acceso a bienes como la atención médica o el Internet se crea y se considera un derecho, pues hay que promover que llegue a todos. La primera generación de derechos humanos se limitaba en el siglo XVIII y XIX a los civiles y políticos: el voto, la propiedad privada, la vida, la libertad de expresión. La segunda, en el siglo XIX y XX, se extiende a los sociales, económicos y culturales: la salud, la educación, todos tenemos derecho a una vivienda, a un trabajo, pero ahora la tercera, de finales del siglo XX y XXI, incorpora también aquellos que tienen que ver con la solidaridad y la justicia, la paz, el medio ambiente limpio, el desarrollo. La Comisión Teológica de Asia nos ha hablado muchísimo de esto. Pero el problema es, y lo que discutíamos nuestra comisión, ¿es posible garantizar el acceso a esos bienes en tanto que derechos debidos? En este sentido, es evidente que se debe buscar una economía de raíces solidarias y que tengan como punto de partida la sinodalidad y la subsidiariedad. La construcción de redes comunitarias intermedias, lo que un ponente nos llamaba la mesoeconomía, pues tiene que presentarse también como una alternativa al binomio de mercado o Estado. Formas de cogobernanza pues son siempre una buena apuesta. Veíamos que la libertad y la propiedad no se pueden entender nunca al margen de la comunidad como exclusivas, sino como inclusivas. Por eso veíamos que en Europa se habían perdido pues de manera alarmante esos lazos comunitarios que sí aparecen en estas propuestas más antiguas de aquellas sociedades que vivían de otro modo. Y vamos a terminar con una serie de aplicaciones más prácticas y concretas para nuestra realidad, que veíamos viables tanto en Europa como en otros lugares del mundo y que la Comisión Teológica Europea sugería para también un ulterior estudio. No es nada nuevo, ya las otras comisiones nos las han ido mostrando con ejemplos prácticos. Hablábamos de la financiación de microcréditos en lugares desfavorecidos, tanto de Europa como de otros continentes, el redescubrimiento de modelos de donación voluntaria como el diezmo, las comidas participadas o las cooperativas, el fomento de la circulación de cohermanos y de recursos humanos dentro de la propia congregación, el cuestionamiento del modo de gestionar las propiedades provinciales, especialmente aquellos edificios y casas grandes que tienen algunas provincias de Europa y que tienen un uso pues muy limitado o se usan poco, ponerlas al servicio también de otras necesidades. La insistencia en la economía, en la integración de estilo comunitario en todas las partes de la congregación, vivirlo interiormente en nuestra vida religiosa. También el fomento en los centros educativos dehonianos de iniciativas pequeñas, pero que hablen también de economía común. La defensa de estos derechos sociales universales de segunda y tercera generación, como la salud o el acceso a Internet. Y la presentación de la vida religiosa como alternativa para alcanzar una buena vida. Esto del buen vivir aplicado a nuestro modelo de vida. Consiga el buen vivir y la abundancia practicando paradójicamente a lo que nos invitaba la Comisión Teológica de Asia, la sobriedad, la simplicidad, la frugalidad, el desapego, el esfuerzo y el descentramiento. Gracias.
Voy ahí arriba. Muchas gracias, Padre Pablo, por la presentación de la Comisión de Europa. Ciertamente lo que han presentado al final ¿no? Con esas ideas podemos recuperar en la discusión, porque hay ahí muchas propuestas interesantes. No sé si alguien de la Comisión Europea quiere añadir algo, quiere tal vez retomar algo de que se ha dicho para enriquecer la reflexión. ¿No? Completo. Está bien. Entonces, ¿sí? Ahora vamos a adelantar un poco la pausa, el receso, para que podamos ganar tiempo también para la discusión después de la pausa. Entonces, vamos a hacer ahora la pausa y a las 11:30 volvemos aquí, media hora antes, para poder ganar más tiempo para la discusión. ¿Está bien? Entonces tenemos ahora la pausa y a las 11:30 aquí para empezar la discusión. Gracias todavía y nos vemos.
Hello. Hello. It's good. Welcome back to everybody. We are now started with the dialogue between the two commissioners presented this morning. But also, if some of you have something to say about what we have been discussing yesterday, it should be also the occasion, because tomorrow we are going straightly to synthesize the seminar. That means today, this occasion for us, we can discuss from the arguments that we hear this morning, but also if somebody wants to contribute to what has been said yesterday, the occasion should be given to the person to do it. Now we call here the president of the two commissions that presented this morning, European Commission and Asian Commission, with one member to participate to the debate between the commission and the attenders.
You have the microphone for
Yes. Before the break, I was sharing with Father Stephen that I'm so surprised how our seminar is going. We start with a large view, but gradually we are coming with a synthesizing view that we can say in 3 points. We have the fundamental element, theological elements for economy that present to us zero, and today we hear the presentation of the European Commission. We have those things to renew, complete the economy, like Africa, or the presentation of Professor Hernando about the la comunione. And we have those thinking that we have just to reform the current economy, like the others commission and the others in the presentation that we have on this day. I think it's the occasion to you to tell us what was the main intention that you carry by presented what you said today, just to call us or to remind us, address to the European Commission, to remind us that we can find the fundamentals of the economic in Bible, in the theology, or to go through the others to propose some kind of renewal of the economy today, or the economy today. And to the Asian Commission, was so grateful to hear how Asians make the distinction between need and greed, between need and greed. I don't know, by doing so, do you think about those in the world that just need to cover, or need to cover to cover what the need that they have, or those working the world with a great intention, thinking to carry everything, thinking to deal with all what they have around themselves. That's just to introduce you in this debate. You have the microphone. Those wanted to.
Okay, so I think that the main purpose of our presentation is just to say that coming back to the fundamental of the thought that can legitimate, for instance, the private property, that is not just abstract reflection, but is at the same time an occasion, an input to go forward and to think a new kind of shape, a new kind of economical development, for instance. And in the case of private property, we find out that it's not just an economical question, I read a book which title is Theologies of Private Property. That means that in many cases, the private property is legitimated by a theological fundamental. And so, this is an occasion for us as theologians, as religious, as thinking the link between theology and economy, for instance. And yes, we chose this argument, this topic of private property, because this is a very sensible topic today, and we are aware that the concept of property is changing. It's not the same that, for instance, our founder faced. And so the problem is how to rethink this private property in today's world. And so I don't know if you want to add something. Thank you.
So answering Father's argument about the need and the greed. See, people who are greedy, we cannot do much about it. But our concern is those who are in need, and to find means for them to sustain themselves, to give them awareness, to help them to stand on their own. We are trying to offer some possibilities. As I was telling in my presentation, trying to become part of the solution. Problem is there, greedy people all around. But then to become part of the solution means standing for those who are in need, standing with them, standing for them, and then trying to present some concrete solutions so that they will be able to find them, sustain themselves. At least the minimum for them to sustain themselves, the essential for them to live for. So that's how. So we can't do much about those who are in greed. No, we cannot convert them. Yeah. Whereas we can empower those who are in need.
Thank you for this problem. I think that in Asia, Christian is minority, but minority with a big influence in economic and in politics. And another side, I see that there now for commercializations in Indonesia, for example, many Indonesians have with big mode from France, with Louis Vuitton, with all of things. It is one side. In another side, we are very poor. It is why I think that it's true that in this Asia thinking, like in Javanese, we have a philosophy of Java, Suryo Mataraman. He talk about, we must talk about need and enough. This is the problem. Because like human, it is very difficult to us to say enough. We would like to more and more and more and more. And it is a problem. And it is why when we talk about the situation in Indonesia and in Asia, and in Asia we talk about the harmony. Harmony is how people can stand in his point of view, but in the same time we can accept another. Even with another philosophy, we talk about the Levinas, Martin Buber, etc. Or in Asia, we must talk about this. Yes, I have my friends, I have my family, and it's enough. And I think for the point of view of economical theological, we must talk about the need, but we must talk about the enough. And in the same time, we must talk about the another. And I think that one point is connectiveness. We connected by another. We connected by another. And in the same time, if we talk about the connectiveness, we talk about the sharing of food, sharing of nouns, sharing of money, etc. And it is why I think in Indonesia, for example, for our community, the Dehonian community, for example, I live in Yogyakarta in our scholasticate can grow up and can have many things because of many people from Indonesia share. And in the same time, I think that it is the new possibility to have another model of economic, to make humble and to make talk about the, yes, I need something, but in the same time, it is enough. Thank you.
Joseph, please, the front.
Okay, my question is to the European Commission. We know that Europe have contributed more for the development of the other continents, America, Africa, Asia, and this from the 15th century up to today. And I would like to return you the question of yesterday that the General Barbosa asked us about giving and receive. You emphasized your intervention only on the private property. And contrary to the other commissions, who also propose solidarity and so forth. Yes. So my question will be, is Europe today ready to receive also from the others? I don't say that what they give to the other was not also good. No, they contributed more. But I have the impression that this how can we call this? Private property, yes, is dominating the European mentality, the European ideas. To the point that, maybe, please excuse me, I can mistake, Europeans are not always able to receive from the others. So, please excuse me, it's my opinion. How do you say about it? Is Europe ready also to receive from the other? Receive not only the goods, raw material, and so forth, but also the ideas for the development of the other. Yes, we said in our intervention that sometimes we are prisoners of Hegelianism. So Hegel, you know the Hegel with his book on the spirits that hover here and there, and the center is, and it is this that brought for some kinds of methods of humiliating the other people. Please excuse me. Yes. Please, how do you think about this solidarity with other peoples?
Sí, es cierto que en Europa la mentalidad predominante de la economía actual es la de la privatización. Y siempre que, por ejemplo, se estudia la Biblia, se habla de personalidad corporativa, por ejemplo, que existe en la base del pueblo de Israel, lo que habláis en África, etcétera. Es un estilo que aquí en Europa es muy difícil de entender ahora porque tenemos un proceso cultural desde el Renacimiento, la Ilustración, etcétera, que está basada en la individualidad del ser humano, su libertad, y extensión de esa libertad es la propiedad privada. Evidentemente, comprender el mecanismo de una sociedad africana o del antiguo Israel, a nosotros nos cuesta muchísimo, porque no tenemos esa personalidad corporativa. Es el individuo y no es la persona la que es parte de o vive para la comunidad, sino más bien al revés. La comunidad viene en un segundo paso. Se constituye a partir de los individuos y ahí surge según nuestro pensamiento. Y claro, sobre esto del dar y del recibir, pues yo siempre pienso que es más fácil recibir que dar, ¿eh? Aunque nos cueste ahora recibir, es más fácil recibir que dar. Dar implica un esfuerzo mayor. Ahora también es cierto que cuando somos orgullosos, altivos, pues precisamente nos cuesta recibir de los otros, porque significa también romper nuestra especie como de estar por encima de dominio. Cuando tú recibes de otro, dependes de esa otra persona. Y esa dependencia para la autonomía con la concepción individual, pues es algo negativo, no depender de nadie. Entonces, claro, hay que aprender a depender, pero ya digo que es más fácil recibir que dar, ¿eh? O sea que el paso a dar es más complicado que el que te den. Al fin y al cabo recibes y te satisfaces. Lo cual yo creo que es, lo decía el ecónomo general, que tenemos que aprender a dar y a recibir.
Yeah, maybe I can add some observations about the first part of your answer. Yes, I think that the European thought is based on the modernity and the centrality of the individuals and the private property. But this is the liberal tradition, but before we have, for instance, the Aquinas that says that living in society is natural, is corresponding to our inner natural inclination. And before the Greeks, they thought that living in society is the fulfillment of human being. And so it's true that the liberalism had emphasized this aspect of the individuals against the other, one against the other, but there are other traditions, and the root of European thought is in other direction. And then I think it's not possible to give without to receive, and to receive without giving. It's I don't know if the Europeans are able to receive, or if your question was addressed to us as European or as European religious. That is quite different. But in any case, I think it's a complex question. But maybe we can have the temptation to receive in a functional way, that we receive what is useful for us, and this is a big temptation. I agree.
It's a question for the Asian Commission. At the end of your presentation, I have appreciated the reference to the 8 Beatitudes of Pope Francis. They are fundamental, essential, necessary values. It's fundamental. But my question is this: spirituality, ethics, is it enough to renew in depth economics? It's my question. Spirituality, ethics, absolutely fundamental. But for an enduring renewal of the economics, but is it enough to renew in depth economics? Thank you very much.
So thank you, Father, for this nice question. But the answer is not enough, but it is a starting point. We begin with the values. The values in turn will initiate us to the reality. Your question is whether spirituality is sufficient. I say spirituality rooted in reality, not deprived of reality. That means my spirituality should reflect the reality. My spirituality should reflect the actuality. My spirituality should reflect the factuality. That means when it is connected to the reality, then it will have its meaning. Otherwise, it will become a rituality. It will not go with the spirituality. It is, I would call it as incarnated spirituality. So these values should take shape in us, should incarnate in us, in our mind, in our system. And then that will lead us towards to answer the concerns of the society. When I don't have these values, then I may be lost in the world. I do not know where I am heading towards. I might become selfish to the core. Then I don't have space and time or energy to think about the concerns of the others. So these realities will define my personality, or define or to modify our mentality to look for the solutions. So I would say it's a starting point. Yes, it is a foundation.
Yes, thank you. This is the point of view of many of psychology approach. And I think that, for example, in Indonesia, we talk about the harmony between ritual and social engagement, first. Secondly, before we talk about the spirituality, many things about this one, we must talk about how we have some life standard of life, for the food, for the clothes, for the house, etc. If we have this standard, so we can have another possibility to think. And then, I think like in Indonesia, because we are minority, we cannot do this without others, without another religion. Catholic is very little in the Indonesia. So we must work together. It is why we talk about the gotong royong. It is how we can work together to make sense of our life. And after this, I think that in Indonesia, for example, a question about the spirituality is not so intellectual, it's not so big, but what is practice? If I can help my daughter, if I can help my neighbor, so it's come from our culture or our Christian attitude. Or we must talk now, yes, because you are my neighbor, you are my brothers. So brotherhood is, I think in Asia, brotherhood become the first for take seriously about the economic. And for example, now, it is why we talk about the alternative economy. Because during the COVID, we have many problems for the economic problem, but for the people, they have something to do, something to change, something to give, another. And in this point, I think that we have new possibility to work together, to help together, but in the same time makes the common good. It is why in Church of Indonesia, we talk about the not community basic Christian, but community human human community. It means that first we must talk and we must work together with another. Don't think about the religion. Don't think about the Christ. And in this point of view, I think that Church of Indonesia asked to the many Indonesian people, now please talk first how we can develop the new memory. If you talk about the renewal, how we can have a new memory to can dialogue and make sense together. In Indonesia, we talk about the Pancasila. So Pancasila now become not replace the Bible, but it is the common imagination. It is the common imagination to collect all of things and to make all the people can work together, can talk together, and in the same time we can talk about the some theology from Pope and Fratelli Tutti. So in Indonesia, I think we talk many about the Fratelli Tutti, because fraternitas, Fratelli Tutti become it is the basic of. It means that let us work together with the same imagination, the same common good, and in the same time the same need. Thank you.
Antonio first, after Father John. Antonio after Father John.
Thank you for your presentation. Asia and Europe. I have a question. My first part, it will be in English, and the second part in Spanish. My question is how we can carry forward the ideas that we have here, that we spoke about. That is my question now. What we can do to make our world better, a better world to live. Because to work in a pastoral field is not only to be worried with the confession, with the mass, or and other things like this, but is to be worried also with the life of our people. And we are a family, we are a religious family. And when I speak about a religious family, I don't speak only about the members of the congregation, but I speak also about the people who lives in our missions and that are needs and that suffer, and we have to do something for them. And when we think about our family, I think that we need to think also in these people that are in a situation with a poverty where they cannot live well. Sometimes they don't have nothing to live. This is my first question. How can we carry forward the ideas that we have? And the second part I will do in Spanish, because I have here the oh my God. It's about the remesas. I don't know how to say in English. Remittance. I think so, remittance, no? Remesas. When you send money for your family from Europe to remittance, no? Remittance. En las Naciones Unidas, en un informe de las Naciones Unidas dice lo siguiente: Durante la última década, la atención se ha centrado principalmente en la parte emisora de las remesas, en particular el volumen de las transacciones agregadas y los costes de operaciones, principalmente de países desarrollados a países en desarrollo. La dimensión global de este fenómeno es impresionante. En 2017 se enviaron 480.000 millones de dólares, una cantidad mayor 3 veces a la ayuda oficial para el desarrollo. Y este número me parece importante, el último, ¿no? 3 veces más dinero se envió a los países pobres de gente pobre que viene a trabajar en países desarrollados, Europa, Estados Unidos o algunos países de Asia del Este, o sea, 3 veces más que la ayuda oficial de los gobiernos a países pobres. A mí me parece que es un dato impresionante. Es decir, en un artículo que yo leí, no sé si hace 2 años atrás, se decía que quienes realmente ayudan a los pobres son los propios pobres cuando se trasladan a un país rico, pero sin ellos dejar de ser pobres en el país rico, saben seguir ayudando a los que están más pobres que ellos, ¿no? Una idea interesante. Y los datos, es un dato de Naciones Unidas, dicen que es así, o sea, parece que es así. Ahora, con esto, y con la pregunta que decía, ¿cómo seguir adelante? Yo anoté como que algunas cosas que a mí me parecían que yo soñaba, ¿no? Y perdonen que haya soñado, ¿no? No me dormía, soñé, que son 2 cosas distintas. Y lo que yo decía es, por ejemplo, las remesas, en ese informe de Naciones Unidas también dice que un alto porcentaje va en pagos como que de la transacción por la empresa. Y uno decía, bueno, ¿y la vida religiosa? Los cristianos, ¿no podríamos inventar un mecanismo que ayude a que menos dinero se quede en grandes empresas y más dinero llegue realmente a la gente que lo necesita? Era una pregunta que me hacía. O sea, ¿cómo pensar una realidad donde pudiéramos ayudar? Es decir, y esto para mí sí es una economía alternativa. O sea, estás pensando realmente en una propuesta distinta. O también otras cosas como pensar en una horizontalidad educacional de intercambio. Y cuando digo una horizontalidad educacional, la pandemia nos enseñó algo importante, y es que podemos recibir clases online. Y, oye, qué interesante sería que una persona en América Latina o en Asia o en África, que nosotros veamos con potencialidad, pues pudiera hacer un curso, imagino yo, aquí en el ESIC, sin tener que venir para acá, sin tener que pagarle vivienda, sin tener que pagarle un pasaje, porque no puede, pero sí puede conectarse y quizás sí se le pueda dar una beca para que pueda estar aquí. Por ejemplo, o sea, esos son economías, a mí me parece que son propuestas alternativas que pueden ayudar. Yo recuerdo que el profesor Isaías Hernando y el profesor Jesús Luis Fernández hablaban de la fuerza de los clientes para obligar a las empresas a ser más sociales. Todos los días, incluso en Venezuela, que pasó una gran crisis y se cerró en sí misma, todos los días hay vuelos a todas partes del mundo. Todos los días. O barcos que salen a todas partes del mundo. Hay vuelos que salen vacíos. pero tienen que hacer el vuelo porque es una cuestión empresarial. Qué bonito sería que uno pudiera decir, poder enviar cosas, claro, empresas, iba a decir empresas transnacionales solidarias, porque realmente serían esas tipo de empresas, en donde uno pudiera intercambiar productos de ayuda de unos países a otro, de ayuda incluso de comercializar, es decir, que pueda venir algo de un país latinoamericano, africano o asiático a Norteamérica o incluso a Europa y decir, bueno, podemos ayudarlos a ustedes que están por allá, que son de nuestra misión y que se pueden vender y además son atractivos aquí. O sea, no es solo ayudar por ayudar, si compro porque, bueno, porque no me queda otra cosa, pero puede haber algo que puede ser atractivo y poder pensar juntos esa realidad. Hay muchos, y quiero ya terminar, hay muchos, ¿cómo se dice? Muchas excusas de por qué no. ¿Quién paga el viaje? ¿Quién paga el transporte? ¿Quién transporta los bienes desde la empresa? Pienso, no sé, una empresa Corte Fiel, que le queda un montón de ropa, pues las va a tirar y a lo mejor la puede mandar para allá, o para cualquier país. ¿Quién lo va a trasladar de allí hasta el aeropuerto, hasta el puerto? Bueno, eso es lo que yo dijo, que me pareció interesante lo que dijo el profesor Isaías Hernández y José Luis Fernández. ¿Y por qué nosotros que pagamos el camión de la basura que nos recoge, el aseo que nos recoge la basura aquí, no le exigimos a ellos, bueno, usted tenga un camión para que recoja cosas que pueden ser útiles y pueden ser llevadas a otra parte y me lo transporta a un lugar del aeropuerto? ¿Y por qué no le puedo yo como cliente exigir a la aerolínea que cuando tenga usted un espacio vacío, por favor, se lo lleva? Eso, claro, requiere una cosa mucho mayor, requiere incluso negociaciones con los países que reciben estas cosas gubernamentales. Pero ¿por qué no pensar en cosas así? O sea, una economía alternativa no es solo unos campesinos, como lo presentamos a lo mejor en América Latina, que se reúnen y hacen algo de sus propias ideas, pero también podemos pensar en algo que nosotros podemos hacer para favorecer. Por eso es que yo decía, yo soñaba en esas cosas. En la presentación de Europa, por ejemplo, a mí me gustó mucho decir un intercambio cultural, una apertura de la gente que viene. Eso me parecía muy importante.
Shall I answer the first question, which I have understood? That is, what is our role as Dehonians? Are we only there to meet the spiritual needs, or are we to do something else? So I would say, to start from the slogan of our founder, go to the people. So our ministry we start with the spiritual apostolate and then move to the social apostolate. But we go to the social apostolate with the values. So when we are filled with the values, nourished with the values, nurtured with the values, when we have our convictions, with that we will be able to empower people to find solutions to the problems, to the social problems. So I would say that we start with awareness. That awareness leads to the animation of the people, and then animation leads to activation, and then brings about accomplishment of any problem, any social issues, any concerns of the societies. I think this I see as a framework, being aware of the problem, giving them awareness, conscientizing the people, and then animating them, activating them, and then finding accomplishment or fulfillment of the work at hand. So to say that as Dehonians we are not mere spectators, nor we are dictators, but we are animators and collaborators in the mission that is entrusted to us.
So I don't know if your specific proposals are feasible or not, but I just add something to what Michael said. I think that one thing we can do in our communities is to think that our spirituality, or this spirituality, is not separated from the economy. And when we speak of economy, we don't speak of a separated sphere of human doing. And the direction, I think, is not only from our spirituality to the economical life, but also from the economy, from the economical life to our spirituality. This bi-directional going from the word to the spirituality and vice versa. And in this sense, I think that we have to think of economy in a wider sense as just business. And so I maybe want to question this slogan, la única universidad donde solo se habla de business, because the economy is not just business. The economy is a wider concept of business. And if you want to speak of business, you need to speak of human activity, and so of ethics, of spirituality. And so business is not just a technical issue, it's a human issue, it's a human activity, and so if you want to speak of business, you have to speak of human being. And so that's an idea that for us and for our communities is very important, because sometimes we hear that this is economy, that doesn't matter, or this is spirituality, but spirituality and economy are two aspects of the human being and the human activity.
I think this is a very complicated question. And I think first, what's our contributions? First, maybe we must talk about the contribution, about the how we live together, what kind of model of family we have in our community. It means that what kind of style of life. I think that in Europe and Asia and Africa we have another with different style of life. But how we in our pastoral talk about this with the people. What kind of style of life we can bring together, and how this style of life can contribute for the new generation, new way of life. And secondly, I think that with the corona, with the COVID, now we have another point of view about the thinking, sharing, and the transportations. Because when I was in Indonesia, now many people and many students develop some commerce, little by little. And I think that we are like a priest, we don't have this idea. And we just talk about that, yes, like very common with the theology, dogmatic, etc. Or we have another possibility. And the young people grow up with this one. How they develop the new commerce and how they can contribute for the economical problem. And secondly, I think this is the Indonesian, and when I study, I think you in Europe, remember at the 45, I think, after the Second War. After the Second War, Europe built by the Marshall Plan, isn't it? With the Marshall Plan, and we have the 16th, Gold 16, with all the route a very big root, and the rye, etc. Now in Indonesia, we start with this. Our presidents take the big root in many points in Indonesia, and we have another possibility to make a new economy. I think that now in Indonesia we have new model of economy because of this very, very based necessity. I don't know about in Africa, but in Asia, in Indonesia and Philippines and Vietnam and India, if we have the basic need and basic transportations, so we can develop. And finally, I think that in Indonesia we talk about how the Catholic Church sense that we are not another. We are in the same area with the people, with same area with the country. And in this position, I think that we can have possibility to give some, like I said, promote for the family value. Thank you.
Yes, Father John. When Father John is coming up, I would just like to give a proposition, because since yesterday, they have the same question that returned about the idea to come out with a Dehonian specific way to address economy. And I just come in my mind that some years ago, the congregation held the conference, general conference in Recife, I think it was the Recife, about economy and kingdom or God's reign. Maybe suggest to the various commission to read what have been said on that time about economy and the result for this seminar to come out normally with something that is truly Dehonian. It was just a proposition.
Thank you for the presentations that have been made this morning. It made me think, however, the question that was raised, and even in the reflection that took place here, but again to reflect on actually on modernity and the challenges that modernity have given to us, I think we find ourselves in a somewhat different space right now. Call it maybe late modernity, post-modernity. There is a lot of insecurity in the world right now about where to find value, where to turn, because we've lost the vectors to which we can go. But during the break, I mentioned to someone, ever go back to the scriptures, that we find the answers. True. Even looking at what you presented in your paper, you went back to sources that are quite well known. Your scripture, Old Testament, New Testament, Thomas Aquinas, Father Dehon. Are we dealing right now with the insecurities that people are facing today? Are there other sources that we need to turn to? If we want to come here as Dehonians to reflect on the economy and our spirituality, are we going back to the same sources? Or are we, in fact, maybe looking beyond this to something other? In many ways, perhaps to take into account the feeling of insecurity that people don't know where to turn any longer. When Giro talked about the empty throne, I talked about an empty chair because I thought it was an emptiness that we have experienced in our time where we don't know what to put in that chair. That is some of the questions that I think we need to raise. How can we today, what are we saying to the congregation when they come out from here about the relationship of Dehon and economy? That's the question I want to raise. Maybe I can, for myself at least, I've kind of trying to think in a certain direction, but I'd like to hear how the panel, how they would like to propose, and I think also to all of us, how are we going to present Dehon today, and the kind of concerns that he had with regard to the economy as a spiritual task.
Estefan. Dice Estefano que si quieres responder tú, que eres el que en la presentación europea hablaste del padre Dehon como conocedor del padre Dehon.
It will be disappointing to all of you because I will not, surely I will not answer the question that John has made to all of us, no? Especially because he already has something in mind when he says, well, let's talk about economy and Dehon, but added spirituality, no? Because that's the way I guess you would like to approach the issue, Dehon, economy, spirituality, to have that together. But I will not elaborate on that, no? It's something we have to do together or discuss and not to listen to solutions. But instead I would like to take the opportunity to say something I was thinking about listening to what was said. Two issues. One is the question of Joseph Coate, at least as I have heard and understood that when he was asking about giving and receiving, and I think he was not only speaking of thinking, receiving of economical goods, no, but also the giving and receiving of ideas, no? And well, when we have experienced something in these years we meet one and again, is that the transfer of ideas is something very complicated if you do it in an equal way and not in form of colonialism. And I think I remember a book Gaël Giraud has written with the title "The Future, L'économie à venir," the economy of future. And he wrote it not alone, but he wrote it with a scholar from Senegal together, because his idea or their idea was exactly that also in the field of economy, we have to look at the wisdom already existing in our peoples, in our cultures. And I think, yes, it is very important also in our days. No, when we hear the others, is there a wisdom concerning economy and the way it is thought and practiced according to other cultural traditions? We can take in account. We can receive. That's a task of such a meeting, also. No, appreciating, discovering, appreciating, and thinking, discerning. May this wisdom be something for us also concerning economy, or is it only wisdom for one place? And so, and this is a question for every group. It's a question, maybe for Europe, it's given the historical circumstances, no? For Europe, it's sometimes a bit more difficult, no? To have a look at and to receive from other wisdoms, because already in Europe it's very, very difficult, giving and receiving. When I look at the problems, Germany has to publish French authors, no? So already the transfer of ideas within our continent is very difficult, no? And it has to do, yes, with our history. But I think, once again, all the groups, no, have the question, no, are we seeing some wisdom valuable also concerning economy in what the other continents, cultures, no, are living? And then the second is my question, is it really that we have to follow one economy for all? The question, no, we so easily speak of global economy, but the question is there a place that can consider regional, continental wisdoms concerning economy, no? Which has not to be the model for everyone to follow and to live with that. So not always speaking everyone of a global economy, but searching for spaces corresponding to other wisdoms. And at the end, when I look at the European Commission's proposal, at the end, no, yes, we started with private property, but when you followed, it was very clear, a journey of discovering the social dimension of property, even though clearly, yes, even the word property is something which has to be discussed, no? But at the end, if you see the proposals of the European Commission, no, they are all proposals about a community style of treating economy. A community style which considers people living in the same time with me, people living in future times, no, and not only people, no, but also the planet, and having a look at the proposals, for instance, about implementing in our schools, no, microcredits and other forms, no, of economy. So I think there's a quite awareness, no, that, and that's the way we are going in these days, no, that a very well-defined community style of economy is the way we are going to, no? So that's the way I see it.
Pedro? No habla sobre real.
De hecho, es que mi intervención o mi comentario iba un poco por lo que acaba de decir ahora Stefano, haciendo un poco vínculo de lo que llevamos hablando, ¿no? Y cuando ya pasamos la mitad siempre del ecuador de estos seminarios es, bueno, ¿y esto qué, no? ¿Y esto a dónde nos lleva? Y pensaba mucho en lo que escuchábamos el primer día, ¿no? Que hay que partir de soluciones reales y pequeñas. Y en nuestro caso es desde lo que vivimos, ¿no? Estos grandes ejemplos de lo que podríamos hacer por un mundo que cambiase están muy bien y quizá haya lugares donde hacerlos, ¿no? Pero me estaba resonando mucho el tema del valor profético de la vida religiosa. Y creo que eso es un elemento que está en cuestión en todos los continentes, ¿no? Cómo nuestra vida es signo de una economía alternativa. Y no solo en la forma que tratamos nuestros recursos, que también, es decir, nuestros recursos económicos, nuestra forma de gestionar las casas. Y si eso es significativo, que para mí es lo importante, ¿no? Me uno mucho a las propuestas que estaba diciendo el Grupo de Europa, porque son cosas visibles. Cómo gestionamos nuestras estructuras que se ven. Y yo creo que por ahí tendrían que pasar los compromisos concretos, ¿no? El llevar a la práctica este tipo de situaciones, porque si no podemos quedarnos en que nos gustaría un mundo, no sabemos cómo, pero lo que apuntaba, por ejemplo, Joseph, ¿no? El tema del individualismo, de lo privado, ¿acaso no es un problema de nuestras comunidades? Transnacional. O sea, no es solamente una cuestión global, europea, general, de una economía capitalista agresiva. Es que es un virus que todos llevamos dentro. Entonces yo creo que volver hacia la vida religiosa, lo decían también el primer día, ¿no? Como las primeras iniciativas económicas nacen en el contexto del franciscanismo, de una vida pobre que se abre hacia afuera. creo que tenemos eso, que evitar el peligro de ver solo lo de fuera sin mirar hacia adentro, ¿no? Y empezar por propuestas concretas desde nuestra vida común, como modelo, como profetismo alternativo de una economía diversa.
I was actually not thinking of a spiritual solution. My concern has been that what's, I think, occurring currently is a breakdown of the Cartesian subject. This kind of security that we sought in, which is also quite evident in the search for the sciences. We wanted to have certainty, and we found a certain way of approaching that certainty, but we're also suddenly realizing that all the things that we would thought were certain have lost their certainty. And we are now in a new period of time in which there are many philosophers and theologians are thinking in the direction of that the self that has been built up has been destroyed. And we need to find a different way of aligning ourselves with, I guess, maybe in the direction of the other, which is one of the ways that it has happened in philosophy. In particular here, I'm also thinking of someone like a Levinas or a Derrida. It's quite clear that we are in a different space of time. And it is, I think, our task to begin to think, what are the repercussions for us? Because what do we teach as theologians when we are in our classrooms and we work with others? What is our own vision of what's happening today? Or perhaps finding visions whereby we can recreate a new vision of humanity that is not so strongly based on modernity, but maybe on some of the issues that are emerging in post-modernity. That's basically what I think is the challenge that we are facing today. Anyway, that's at least a clarification to my question.
But the dialogue was not just between us here, but the dialogue also between the commissions. I think we have to share something about your own presentation. Maybe Asia have something to add to European presentation, maybe the reverse. The dialogue not just between us and you people here, but also between you.
Thank you for Father John. I think that for the future, we must talk about, like Derrida, we promote the little thinking about the new humanity. If we talk about the humanity, what kind of humanity? If we talk about the humanity, the big idea, or we must start with local humanity, local fraternity. For example, with VR, in this local fraternity, we can talk many things about how we make new fraternity. And secondly, I think that if because of our heritage from Descartes with cogito ergo sum, and I think that Berulle talk about not man but Christ become a center of our life. Maybe we can have a new vision about the humanity, not human like a center, but Christ and human sold by Christ. It means that I think that if we have a new anthropology of the anthropology Christology, and we can find how we are men, how we human, but human saved by Christ. And in this point of view, we can start for the new commitment. Like yesterday we talked about the economy of communion. I think that if we talk about the economy of communions, we must start about how the people with the idea, with the imaginations of another, and how they have imagination about the Christ, about the salvations, can help us to develop our theology. And then with this point of view of anthropology, we can develop another point of view, for example, for economy. And in this sense, I think maybe we can talk about the solidarity. Because if we talk about the solidarity, we must have another base. It is the human base. And what kind of human base? And I think Beryl, with the École Française, if we talk about the Christ like a center, can help us to make some little progress. Finally, I think that we have new anthropology to make new connectiveness. Because now if we talk about the connectiveness, we talk about the réseau in English. What is that? Yes, like an internet, isn't it? Network. And for me, the problem is if we have a network, what kind of the contribution of our in our network? Because if we don't have some contribution in the network, we will lose. And I think if, like now we talk about the spirituality, I think the Father Dehon help us to respond this question about the modernity and postmodernity. What kind of anthropology we can promote in this network? And I think if we talk about the open heart, open mind, if we talk about this sacred heart, I remember thinking of the Cardinal Daniels. He talked about the sacredness. If people have sacredness, so maybe we can talk about this another point of view. But if someone loses the sacredness, it will become just man and without another possibility. And I think that Father Dehon can help us to find the sacredness in the heart of Christ, and maybe this sacredness can help our network for the future, and for the economy problem and for the social problem. Thank you.
If I can add something, I do agree with you when you speak of anthropology, because we cannot reimagine another economy or other kinds of economy without taking into account a new vision of man or new vision of mankind. This is an anthropological issue. And coming back to what John said, can we find maybe a relationship between this distraction of certainty and the omnipotence of the market? Because we experience today that the self is destroyed, the ancient certainties are destroyed, but the unique way of, or the only shape or the only form of omnipotence is the omnipotence of the market today. And this is a very interesting question for me, how to question this omnipotence of market, giving a new dignity to human person.
Yeah, just word of appreciation for this European continent for your presentation, because you have taken us back to the roots, biblical roots, spiritual roots, and Dehonian roots. We should never lose sight of the roots. Always, that is our foundation for us to find solutions to the given problems. At the same time, we also need to deepen the question of Father John. Do we have something else other than what we already know, other than what already we have? That means we need to think out of the box or outside the box. The other thing is what Father Tertunde is telling to find global economy. Can we talk only about global economy, or we need to think a continental economy or a regional economy, because our problems are different, our situations are different, and then our realities are different. So do we need to think of global economy, or we need to come down and then find, to enlarge our vision or enlarge our horizon, to think. In other words, we can say think globally and act locally. That's what the slogan we say. So we think globally and then we act locally in order to find some realistic solutions or to propose an alternative economy to the problems at hand. So thank you for your presentation.
Thank you, Father Michael. I think those words can... we are to close now, please. Okay. I think the words of Father Michael, we can take it like a homework, because according to me, it's a good summarize for the warriors John, Pedro, and Stephen, going through from the principle that we have discussed in this seminar to come into the concrete way to live the economy firstly in our communities, to become prophets and bring that the result of what we are living out to propose to those living with us and around us. We thank the European Commission, the Asia Commission for their presentation, and ask all of you, all the Commission, to start preparing yourself to synthesize what you propose and what others have said for the next day coming. Thank you and good job.
A la 1, luego después la comida, y por la tarde tenemos el momento para el paseo, para conocer un poco de Madrid, la hospitalidad que nos ofrece también